Before we begin, a quick warning. Tennessee True Crime contains detailed descriptions and images of real-life violence. Some listeners and viewers may find the material deeply disturbing. This content is intended for mature audiences only. And remember, the goal of sharing these stories is not to sensationalize tragedy, but to honor the victims, understand the truth, and give voice to those who can no longer speak for themselves. Listener discretion is strongly advised. The show opening is brought to you by Namaste Wellness and Aesthetics. Visit Namaste this entire month of February for 20% off of all skincare needs, $50 off of filler, and $9 per unit of Botox. Go visit the awesome ladies at Namaste at 159 Omni Drive, right here in McMinnville, Tennessee. Now, on to the story. On October 13th, 2006, the leaves on Kimsey Mountain were just starting to turn. In southern Appalachia, fall doesn't arrive quietly. It rolls in slow and heavy. The air thins, the woods sharpen, sound travels differently. Gunshots echo. And on that evening, they echoed for far too long. 8 shots into one woman, multiple into another. Children screaming. A man declaring himself the devil. This wasn't a crime of passion. It was a hunt. Tonight we're headed to Polk County, to Kimsey Mountain, deep inside the Cherokee National Forest. If you've never been there, let me paint a picture for you. One narrow road. Dense woods pressing in from both sides. No neighbors within shouting distance. Cell service disappears long before you reach the top. It's beautiful and it's isolating. And on October 13th, 2006, that isolation became the perfect cage. This is the story of Penny Waldrop, her best friend, Leslie Bradshaw, 4 children who witnessed the unthinkable, and a man who walked out of court without a first-degree murder conviction, despite what happened on that mountain. They say the South never forgets, and Tennessee, she remembers everything. Welcome to Tennessee True Crime, where the shadows of the volunteer state's past meet the stories that refuse to be forgotten. I'm your host, Tiffany Morgan. Each week, we dig into twisted tales of betrayal and violence, and mystery, the ones where whispers carry the truth and the answers are never as simple as they seem. Let's step into the dark and piece together the clues. Because in Tennessee, some secrets still haunt the hills. This is Tennessee True Crime.
Down through the smoky hollers where the cold wind sighs, footsteps fall where the moonlight hides, whispers over rivers, a secret lost in time. Welcome to Tennessee True Crime.
So when I dreamed for years of doing this show, I would often think, will I be able to crack a case? Will I be able to save someone? Will I be able to adequately convey warning signs to others through these cases so that these losses are not in vain? I hope it's all of those things eventually, one step at a time. Today, I need some of you to really lock in. I pray that you hear this story. I pray that you heed the warnings. I pray that you don't just hear it, but you really listen. If it pertains to you, take this as your sign to go. If it pertains to someone you know, offer that support that they need. Help them, and don't give up on them. You never know when they will be ready to say, enough. Penny and Brad met as teenagers. She was young, he was charming enough. She became pregnant, marriage followed, and 4 beautiful children followed after that. 3 girls and 1 boy. And somewhere between diapers and bills, life and stress, something shifted. Friends would later describe Penny as soft-spoken, very devoted to her children, fiercely protective. She was very caring and she was also very compassionate. But she was also tired. She had a sadness in her eyes that her friends could see, as if she was carrying the weight of the world on her back. Brad drank. He had a temper. When he was good, he was really good. But when he was bad, he was absolutely terrifying. This is how abusive relationships root themselves. The highs are intoxicating. The lows are catastrophic. And in between those times, apologies flow like honey. He blamed alcohol. He blamed his childhood. He blamed stress. He blamed anything but himself. And Penny forgave him again and again and again. Because when you've built a life with someone, especially in small town Tennessee, leaving feels like failure. It feels like breaking a covenant. It feels like tearing apart your children's world. But abuse becomes normal in ways that are invisible at first. The yelling, the shoving, the threats, the choking. Yes, choking. There had been incidents before. One night at Leslie's house, Brad stormed in demanding that Penny come home. She had been there long enough. He grabbed her by the hair and choked her. Leslie physically jumped on his back to stop him. She wasn't afraid of him. That is not a marriage in trouble. That is escalation. Now, Leslie Bradshaw had been Penny's best friend since childhood. Leslie was the kind of friend who didn't just offer sympathy, she offered action. You and the kids come stay here. Leslie's home became refuge. And finally, Penny left. She filed for divorce. And this is where the danger multiplies. Because statistically, and I've said this before in other shows, the most dangerous time for a woman in an abusive relationship is when she tries to leave. Brad moved to his grandmother's trailer on Kimsey Mountain. Remote, isolated, hard to access. He began making threats. He told Penny he would kill her. Police reports were filed. Nothing meaningful happened. Police would say, "Oh, well, it's a civil issue. We can't do anything about that." Remember that phrase because it echoes later. October 13th, 2006, it was Brad's visitation weekend. Penny was afraid. She didn't want to go alone. So her best friend Leslie said that she would go with her. Before they left, they created a plan. Their friend Dotchie, who came over to watch Leslie's children while they did the custody exchange, wrote down what the women were wearing, the car description, and the license plate number. They agreed if they didn't call within an hour, Dotchie would contact the police. That tells you something. They didn't just feel uneasy. They anticipated and planned for danger. They drove up Kimsey Mountain. The road narrowed. The woods thickened. When they pulled into the driveway, Penny instructed the children to unload quickly and go inside. Keep it simple, keep it short, get out. That's what she hoped for. But Brad stepped out of the trailer holding a .22 rifle. Not slung casually, in his hands. Their son Elijah would later say that he realized that his father had been drinking. Penny attempted calm conversation. She said, "I need to leave," but Brad was having none of it. He grabbed the van keys and threw them into the woods. Now they were trapped, and he started screaming. He blamed Leslie, Penny's best friend, for destroying his marriage. He raged, and Elijah, his only son, watched from inside the trailer. Brad lifted the rifle, and he fired. Leslie Bradshaw was shot 8 times. 8. She dropped into the yard. Penny tried to get to her friend. She tried to get her up. She wanted to get her out of there. She wanted to wake her up and both of them run for their lives. But Leslie did not respond. Brad was so proud of himself. He said that Leslie had caused enough issues in their marriage. He wanted Penny to suffer, wanted her to lose someone she cared so deeply about. Now, back at Leslie's house, enough time had gone by where Dotchie was becoming worried. She called the police, she told them about the custody exchange, and she told them she was worried because he had been abusive in the past and had threatened her. And they had agreed if she wasn't back or hadn't called in a specific time frame, police need to be called. The police told Dotchie, well, we'll send an officer out for a welfare check when we have someone available. Penny was alone. No help. So Penny ran. Brad raised his gun again, and while she ran, he shot her square in the back. She fell on the mountain. Penny would not give up. She still refused to lay down and die. She got up again and ran. Elijah said that he watched as his mother ran up the ridgeline behind the house. He saw his dad follow his mom with the gun and watched him shoot more times than he could count until he ran out of ammunition. He reloaded. He caught up to her, wounded and terrified. He raised the gun again, and this time aimed at her head. She kicked the rifle. He then dragged her by the hair to the creek by the house, kids still watching. He then pulled a pocket knife. He slashed her throat, but he cut beneath her chin instead of across it, too high to accomplish what he wanted to do. Still, she fought. And at Leslie's house, Dotchie had set a timer for 15 minutes. When that timer went off, she called police again, reporting the same thing, pleading and telling the police something is wrong, begging them to go to that residence on Kimsey Mountain. Again, police tell her, we'll send a unit when we have one available. It's just a well check, after all. Meanwhile, Penny was going through hell on earth. Brad grabbed a shovel and beat her over and over and over. And then he grabbed a machete and he struck her repeatedly, hacking at her body. She raised her arms to shield her face. Her pinky finger was severed. Imagine that level of force. Imagine children watching this, because they were. I mean, he'd run out of ammunition and reloaded. This is not blind frenzy. This is sustained violence. He dragged her again by her hair back to Leslie's body. He made her watch as he chopped and chopped and chopped the back of Leslie's head with a machete until her skull gave way and her head split open. Then he dragged Penny into the trailer. She was soaked in blood, barely able to stand. Elijah recalls seeing his mother. The blood, the wounds, the open flesh on her body from that machete. He said it was something from a horror movie, the kind of trauma that, as a kid, We'll never, ever leave you." Then Brad told the children, "Tell your mother goodbye." She knelt down and hugged her kids, their little arms wrapping around her wounded body, where she had been beaten and sliced and shot. It had to hurt her more mentally, though, than physically, knowing that this would likely be the last time that she would hold her babies. They begged and pleaded with their dad. He told them, "I'm not your dad anymore. I'm the devil doing the devil's work." He said he was going to have sex with her one more time before killing her, and then killing the kids, and then killing himself. These children were forced to kneel in the presence of their father, who was calmly narrating their mother's execution. And meanwhile, back at Leslie's house, Dotchie is still calling the police. She called again and again. She refused to stop. And dispatchers were becoming frustrated, each time telling her, "We'll send officers to do a well check when we can." And on that mountain, Penny was stalling. She told Brad, "I love you. We can fix things. We can go back to how we were. Remember all the good times. Remember how we used to dance in the kitchen? We can have that again." She was buying time, but she was bleeding out until eventually she couldn't hold herself up anymore. Penny was dying, but get this, y'all, she came to again. And when she did, she saw Brad standing over her. He told her that he wanted to watch her die, slowly. He told her he was going to try and keep her alive for the weekend so he could have his way with her and watch her suffer. He dragged her into the bedroom. He removed her clothing. He got on top of her, started kissing on her, and then one of the children screamed. Headlights in the driveway. A single officer had arrived for a welfare check. No sirens. No backup, no lights blazing, just routine. When Brad stepped away to look outside, Penny gathered herself one more time, and she ran, half naked, covered in blood, barefoot. She ran toward that officer with everything she had left in her. She jumped in the back of that patrol car. He locked Penny in and called for backup immediately. Then he got in the car and began to back out of the driveway, but Penny was screaming at him, "Do not leave. My babies are inside." At that time, Brad walked out and gave himself up. Sirens wailing in the distance, he showed the officers Leslie's body. Penny was airlifted to Erlanger Medical Center. She survived. Leslie Bradshaw did not. When Penny arrived at Erlanger in Chattanooga, she was barely holding on. She had been shot, her throat had been slashed, her head and arms had been hacked with a machete, she had lost a finger, she had lost massive amounts of blood, she had been beaten with a shovel. Doctors worked for hours. Surgeons reconstructed what they could, stitched what they could, stapled what they could, stabilized what they could. She would remain hospitalized for weeks. Physically, she survived. Psychologically, survival would take much longer. While Penny fought for her life in a hospital bed, her 4 children were taken into custody for their own protection. And here's the part that twists the knife. They spent that first night in the same county jail where their father was being held. Separated by walls, but close enough to hear him yelling. Close enough to hear him still screaming threats that he was going to finish what he started. Imagine being a child, watching your father shoot your mother, watching him hack her up, listening to him declare himself the devil, then lying awake in a jail cell knowing he is somewhere in that building. There are traumas that you grow out of, and there are traumas that grow inside of you over time. Investigators described that scene on Kimsey Mountain as one of the most gruesome they had ever encountered. Shell casings were scattered, blood trails leading into the woods, drag marks, a machete, a shovel, a pocket knife, and Leslie Bradshaw lay there dead in the yard with 8 gunshot wounds. The trajectory told a story. This wasn't a single panicked shot. This was sustained violence. Penny's blood was everywhere. Up the ridge, back down, into the trailer, through the bedroom. It looked like a battlefield. But here's what prosecutors had to prepare for. Intent. Premeditation. The difference between first-degree murder and something lesser. Now, in August 2008, the Polk County Grand Jury indicted Brad Waldrop on 2 counts of especially aggravated kidnapping, 1 count of first-degree murder, 1 count of attempted first-degree murder. And first-degree murder in Tennessee requires premeditation. It requires proof that the killing was intentional and planned, even if that plan formed seconds before the act. And you would think, greeting someone with a rifle, throwing their keys into the woods, preventing them from leaving, that sounds like planning to me. But defense attorneys don't just fight facts, they reframe them. So enter the defense. Brad's legal team did something that would make national headlines. They ordered genetic testing, specifically testing for a variant of the MAOA gene, often sensationalized in media as the warrior gene. The argument went like this. Brad had been abused as a child. He carried this genetic variant. The combination created diminished impulse control, heightened aggression, a perfect storm. The defense didn't argue he didn't do it. They argued that biology helped him do it. And this is where science enters the courtroom and things get complicated. Approximately 1/3 of men of European descent carry some form of this gene variant. 1/3. Homicide rates are nowhere near 1/3. The gene is linked in some studies to impulsive aggression, particularly when paired with childhood abuse. But impulsive aggression is not the same as methodical violence. It's not the same as a sustained assault. It's not the same as reloading your gun. It's not the same as dragging somebody back into a trailer and announcing your execution plans in front of your children. But juries are human, and humans respond to narratives, I guess. One juror later said, "A bad gene is a bad gene." That sentence carries weight because it reveals something deeper: the power of scientific language, the authority of an expert witness, the mystique of genetics. If something is biological, it feels inevitable to some people. It feels less chosen. And if it feels less chosen, it feels less punishable. The defense combined the gene argument with testimony about Brad's abusive childhood. They painted a portrait of a damaged man, not a monster. Damaged. And that framing matters, because monsters deserve life without parole. Damaged men get sympathy. And here is what makes my blood boil. The jury rejected first-degree murder. Instead, Brad Waldrop was convicted of voluntary manslaughter, attempted second-degree murder, aggravated kidnapping, and especially aggravated kidnapping. Now, let's go over what voluntary manslaughter means and see if y'all think this is right. Voluntary manslaughter in Tennessee involves killing in a state of passion produced by adequate provocation. Adequate provocation, that's the phrase. What in Sam Hill was the provocation here? A custody exchange? A wife leaving? A friend present? Does that qualify? That's the question that still haunts this case. I can tell you what I think. It absolutely does not. And I know we're supposed to rely on the justice system. Let it work. Put faith in your jury of peers. But let me tell you what, in my eyes, they failed her. Period. In May 2009, Brad Waldrop was sentenced to, listen to this, 32 years. 32 years for 8 shots into one woman, attempting to execute another, chasing her through the woods, cutting her throat, hacking her with a machete, terrorizing 4 children. 32 years. Not life, not without parole, not capital punishment when he should have had a needle in his arm. 32 years. That would put him getting out in 2041. The courtroom was divided. Some believed that justice had been served. Others felt like something had been broken inside the system. Broken badly. This warrior gene defense sparked national conversation. Can your DNA mitigate murder? Should biology reduce culpability? If 1/3 of men carry this gene variant and the overwhelming majority never commit violence, what does that say? Science does not equal destiny. Genes may influence your tendencies, sure, but they do not pull triggers. They do not swing machetes. They do not drag women by the hair. Behavior requires choice. And this case forced people to confront a dangerous gray area. At what point does explanation become excuse? And while the courtroom debated chromosomes, Penny is rebuilding. Reconstructive surgeries, physical therapy, counseling for the children. Her scars are visible. Her trauma is layered. She lost a finger. She nearly lost her life. She lost her best friend. And she watched the legal system reduce what happened to voluntary manslaughter. She's just received a lifetime order of protection, but as many survivors will tell you, an order of protection is paper. Paper does not stop someone who's determined. Years have passed since this happened. Surgeries healed what they could. Scars faded from bright red to pale silver. The children grew up. Counseling sessions stacked on top of one another. And life moved forward, or at least it tried to. But sometimes a notification in your phone can stop you dead in your tracks. You see, very recently, Penny received a text message that no survivor ever wants. And this infuriates me. It makes me sad. It makes me concerned. It lets me know the justice system is so flawed. Brad Waldrop is being released on May 2nd. This May 2nd. In just a little over 3 months. Do the math. That's not 32 full calendar years served. That's a fraction. Half. And in that moment when she got that text message, you know that mountain had to come rushing back. The gunshots, the machete, the voice declaring itself the devil. Sentences and time served are not always the same. Good behavior, credits, policy. The public hears one number, but reality often delivers another. And now the man convicted of, let me tell you one more time in case you don't know, shooting a woman 8 times, attempting to execute his wife, chasing her through the woods, slashing her throat, beating her with a shovel, attacking her with a machete, terrorizing her 4 children, and starting to rape her, is scheduled to walk free in 3 months. And again, Penny has that lifetime order of protection. Great. On paper, it sounds strong. Lifetime. But in Tennessee, if you violate an order of protection, it's typically a misdemeanor. Less than a year in jail. Do you think a murderer is concerned with a misdemeanor? Honestly, this is the reality that survivors wrestle with. An order of protection is not a force field. It's documentation. And documentation only matters after something has already happened. Because if he shows up on her doorstep, guess what? Are police already there? No. In the years following the case, lawmakers began discussing stronger penalties for violating protection orders. Proposals emerged to increase violations to felony status. The projected cost to taxpayers is around $1.4 million to House offenders under stricter penalties. And then the debate becomes what it so often becomes in the justice system: cost versus safety, budget versus bodies. But Penny has been clear. For her, the question is not financial, it's moral. And she has said, in essence, we are the ones who live with this every day. We are the ones who live looking over our shoulders. Survivors don't measure justice in dollars. They measure it in sleep, in breaths, in whether their children feel safe at night. Can you measure their lives in dollars? I wouldn't trade my safety or my children's safety for $1.4 million. I wouldn't trade it for anything. Why would it even be a question? I hope she gets peace. And I hope she gets a peace. Protect yourself, Penny, at all costs. Release doesn't just mean freedom for him. It means planning for her. Relocation, security systems, looking over shoulders in grocery stores, parking lots, wondering if every unfamiliar truck is a coincidence. It means reopening wounds that never fully closed and can't. Because incarceration provides one thing that survivors cling to: predictability. You know where he is. You know he can't reach you. Release reintroduces uncertainty. And uncertainty is its own kind of prison. Here's one of the things that linger for me. If the defense argued that a gene predisposes someone toward impulsive violence, that gene does not go away when he's released. If childhood abuse combined with biology created a perfect storm, as they say, well, storms don't magically resolve because a calendar page turns. This is the uncomfortable question. If diminished responsibility reduced his sentencing, what lessens the future risk? The courtroom focused on explanation. Survivors focus on prevention. Those are not the same priorities. 4 children witnessed that day. They saw their father shoot their mother. They saw him strike her. They heard him threaten to kill her. And they carry that memory into adulthood. One became a police officer, saying that he wants to protect people from monsters like his dad. That statement holds both strength and tragedy, because children should not have to become protectors that young. They should not understand violence that intimately. Trauma alters your development. It rewires your safety. It teaches hypervigilance. And even when you grow strong from it, you never become untouched by it. In all of this discussion of sentencing and genetics and release dates, we cannot lose sight of Leslie Bradshaw. Leslie offered her friend support. She offered her friend safety. She offered her friend loyalty, and she was shot 8 times for it, because obviously that's provocation. Her children grew up without a mother. 5 children lost her that day. 9 children total were altered forever. 1 woman survived, 1 woman didn't. That math never changes. So what is justice supposed to look like? Is it punishment? Is it rehabilitation? Is it explanation? Is it mercy? Or is it protection like it should be? Because when you strip away the legal language, here are the facts. He retrieved a rifle before she arrived. Walked out with it. Premeditation much? He threw her keys so she could not leave. He shot her best friend 8 times. He hunted her through the woods. He slashed her throat, hacked her with a machete. I mean, I keep repeating the same thing over and over because this is frankly hard for me to comprehend. If that does not meet someone's definition of premeditated intent, then what does? You failed her. Jurors, you failed her. And if he gets out of jail and finishes what he started, the blood is on your hands. Live with that. Penny did not just live. She survived. There's a difference. Living is biological. Surviving is pure will. She fought on that mountain. She stalled in that bedroom. She ran to that patrol car. She rebuilt. She raised her children. She advocated. But survival should not require relocation. It should not require constant vigilance. And yet here she is, facing May 2026, knowing that a jury of her peers let her down. Kimsey Mountain still stands. The trees that witnessed that day are taller now. The leaves still change every October. The road still narrows. Cell service still drops. The mountain kept its silence. But the children didn't forget. Penny didn't forget. Polk County didn't forget. And now there's a release date. Some monsters hide. Some rage. Some apologize. Some blame biology. Some convince the community that they're changed. And some wait. The system decided this was not first-degree murder. The system decided 32 years was sufficient, but hey, let's make that 16. And in May 2026, a man who once declared himself the devil doing the devil's work will walk out those doors and be free. The question isn't whether he paid his debt, because clearly he did not. The question is who will keep paying it, because the survivors paid daily, with memory, with fear, with vigilance. Leslie paid with her life. And Penny? Penny paid in blood on a mountainside, and she's still paying. Tonight, when you lock your doors, remember, isolation can be beautiful, but it can also be deadly. If Penny's story moved you tonight, Don't let it end here. It's easy to listen. It's harder to step in. But this is one of those moments where stepping in matters. Penny and her children didn't ask to become a headline. She didn't choose the circumstances that brought her here, but we can help choose what happens next. Right now, she needs more than sympathy. She needs support. She needs resources. She needs stability. She needs people who are willing to stand in the gap and say, you are not doing this alone. Whether it's $5 or $500, every contribution helps lift a burden. Legal fees, counseling, basic needs, the quiet expenses that no one thinks about, but that pile up when life falls apart. If you've ever said someone should help, this is that moment. Be the someone. I will link her GoFundMe page. If you can't donate, I get it. Share this story, Penny's story, because you may share it to someone that can help in ways that we can't imagine. Talk about it. Keep her name in the light. I have talked with Penny. She is absolutely terrified, and rightfully so. But she is a survivor, she is strong, and she is ready to move her life forward safely, away from him. Donate. Healing takes community. Justice takes persistence, and hope takes action. Let's show Penny that even in the darkest chapters, people are still capable of doing something good. Donate today, stand with her, be a part of what happens next. Penny, thank you for fighting. Thank you for communicating with me, allowing me to share your story. This episode, Blessed Are the Broken, was written and hosted by me, Tiffany Morgan, and produced by Main Street Media. Background music and theme song by John T. Productions. Research support from Court Archives, No One Can Hear You Scream, Fox 17, and Psychology Today, along with Penny herself. This finale was brought to you by the wonderful folks at Jones & Company Real Estate. If you are buying or selling a home, come visit us at 304 Mulligan Street or give us a call at 931-474-2020. There is a wonderful team of qualified and friendly realtors ready to go to work for you. And if you would like to sponsor an episode so that I can keep going with these stories that make a difference, we would love to sponsor with you. Partner with you. I'm sorry, this one's emotional. To support Tennessee True Crime, follow us on Facebook at Tennessee True Crime and Instagram at TN True Crime. You can find case and evidence photos on those socials. We are now also on Spotify and most other streaming platforms, so give us a follow and please leave us a rating and share with all your friends. If you have a case that you're interested in me covering, please feel free to email me at tntruecrime@mainstreetmedia.llc. Join me next week as we uncover another Tennessee case that left a lasting mark. Because here in Tennessee, we never stop telling the stories that matter, and some secrets we refuse to let stay buried. Tune in next time on Tennessee True Crime.
Through the smoky hollers where the cold wind sighs, footsteps fall where the moonlight hides, whispers over rivers, a secret lost in time. Welcome to Tennessee True Crime. Dark tales in the mountains where the mist won't lie, echoes of the fallen under starless skies. Hear the hush of memory, the voice of the unsaid. This is Tennessee True